We're now live.
Thank you. Welcome back, folks, and any of our public joining us. We'll resume the half portion of our meeting. So we are beginning from 5.5. Mr. Bouchard, we'll refer that back to you. Beaumont Community Consultation, please.
Thank you. So I'll just maybe give a little bit of a history here for the new trustees, so you're aware of kind of where things are at. So for the past several years, the number one priority for the division and the Board of Trustees makes these decisions on what the number one priority is. The number one priority is for a new high school in Beaumont. Now, the issue is twofold. First off, the province has to give us that high school, but they won't do so until there's a piece of land that will house that high school. And here's where we go in circles. So the city of Beaumont does not have such a property at this time. Now, Trustee Taylor Sirwa and I met with, along with Secretary Treasurer Lutka, met with the developers, the city, and Black Gold School Division just in the last couple of months. And we discussed possible solutions to that end. There's nothing yet. We are supposed to meet again, that same group, towards the end of November. That's where things are with that. So we're working to try to find a piece of property. That it really is, because Alberta Ed will not, give you a high school. But they would give you one if you could get assurance that the site would be serviced within a year and that there was a site. So in the meantime, there has been questions in the community about, what do we do? What, can we jam the kids in our current two schools? Maybe that'll put more pressure on the government. Right now, Christ the King is the designated high school for Beaumont students. So if after grade 9, when they leave Mother Duville, if they want a Catholic education, they will come to Christ the King. And the board has made the motion in the past that if there are 10 students that want to do that, they'll provide a bus. There hasn't been that threshold. The highest we got last year was 7. It really does speak to the fact that the parents in Beaumont, and they've told us this repeatedly, they want a high school in their own community rather than busing to Leduc. So last spring, the Board of Trustees, we had a discussion with administration about holding a community consultation in Beaumont to discuss, to bring the parents up to speed with current things, but also to say, do you want to reconfigure the two schools? So Academy St. Andre would now become a K-5, I think it was, or was it a K-6? And Mother Duville would then go to grade 12. The issue is those schools would be so full that every nook and cranny would be lost. So you'd no longer have a learning commons / library. You'd have classes in there, maybe even 2. Obviously, the board felt that they couldn't make that decision on their own without talking to parents, goes to say. The decision was deferred from last spring to this November to have this community consultation because the board said, we don't want to have it virtually. A decision that's that important to that community shouldn't be held in a Zoom meeting. And here we are, still in a pandemic, and now what? So I think at this point, the board has to give administration some further direction. Do we go ahead with a Zoom consultation? Or do we defer it once again to see what happens with COVID restrictions in the near future? So the pros and cons of a virtual consultation, it could go ahead. The 2 dates that were set were November 17th and 18th. The reason why we had 2 dates was one day was going to be at St. Andre, exact same presentation. The second day was going to be at Mother Duville. And that way both communities would have both school communities would have a presentation. And also if a parent couldn't make it one day, they could tune in for the next day. The advantage of going ahead with a virtual is, we could advance the agenda. The disadvantage is you will likely get less people. I don't know, maybe not. My concern is, you can't make a decision to jam kids in a school without very solid parent support, because they're going to be the families will be the ones that will be dealing with it. Because quite honestly, to push kids into that kind of a capacity is not good for learning. I'll be honest about that. Trustee Miller, you might have had that experience at Notre Dame when the school was jammed. And I know that Assistant Superintendent Malloy was an administrator at that school. When you have classes in the change room outside the gym, that's not what's good for learning, but that's where you end up. So to move to overcapacity has those implications. It's very important that the parents would support that. We know that once Alberta Ed approves a school, it's at minimum 3 years to build it. So you would be jammed, for quite a while. So with kind of that short, brief background, I'll turn it over to the board to maybe have some conversation. And again, I'm looking for some direction from the board for administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bouchard. Any comments? Okay, Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a number of questions, but I'll just start with my first one and let others take turns. Has there been any community consultations, surveys, conversations around the want and the need of a new high school with the community, or in the direction of reconfiguring the two schools currently within Beaumont?
So we have consulted parents, and we've done surveys. So the parents have been advocating quite strongly, usually through school council, but also informally through administration and office staff. Like, hey, where's the board at with, a new high school? What are you guys doing to get us a new high school? There's been lots of that. Parents have said, we need a new high school in this community. We don't want to send them to Leduc. It's not our preferred method.
Thank you.
But just to the second part of that, sorry, Trustee Miller, is we have not talked to them about reconfiguration.
Thank you. Trustee Tagwood.
Yes, I was wondering if it'd be possible to do an in-person where there's social distancing and a Zoom at the same time. So combining the two, that maybe we'd have more people able to attend who just want Zoom or do one in person, but with chairs spaced far enough apart so that it's social distanced. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Telasrawa from Beaumont.
Thank you. I think what Donna is saying is a good idea, to have it virtual and in-person both. So those who don't want to attend can do it virtually, and those who want to can possibly go and do their distancing. And yes, Trustee Miller, we approached the school council about this, and they talked to some parents, and we had many letters come in from parents saying, yes, we do want the school. Yes, we do need the school. Even though the school, if we make these configurations, even though if we do this and it will cause, more, as Charlie said, packed in students, it will then perhaps cause the government and the developers to move more quickly. That's my thought.
Well, so if I could just speak to that.
Go ahead.
It could provide political pressure, and I think that's very real. You could demonstrate that, hey, our schools are jammed. It would not advance the agenda with developers in the city.
Okay, thank you.
At the last meeting with the developers, the feeling was that, yes, there is a good possibility that we can probably get the land. If you recall, Superintendent Bouchard.
Mhm. Yeah. So there is, yeah, that's what they've stated. I know they were opening some new sites around there, but again, still, it's the infrastructure before the building. They're scheduling a meeting before the end of the year, right? But there's no
Correct,
date
correct.
to that. Is that
They
right?
told us it would happen before Christmas, likely the end of November.
Likely the end of. Based on the discussion here, any other comments from any trustee? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My next question is, is there an opportunity for expansion through the use of modules if the decision was made to move towards reconfiguring schools until a further site and decision could be made about a permanent school?
So there is an ability to add some modulars to Mother Deville. And that is, so in the background work that I presented to the Board of Trustees, that's built into the capacity model. It still would put us, it would put Mother Deville at about, I think, 115% capacity with a high school in there. So for trustees that are new, a school is considered full at 85% capacity. That's because all the spaces are considered in the percentage. So the learning commons, the gym, the office, the staff room, that's all part of the percentage that makes 100. So when you go above that, you're using all those little spaces as classrooms. So that's the problem with that. So yes, there's a possibility to put portables on Mother Deville, but it would still put us well over.
Thank you. So any other question? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Superintendent Bouchard, what about modular also at St. Andre?
They are full build already. The modulars have been added on already and they're full. Yeah, so there's no room for additional modulars there.
Yeah. So what happens to the planning around school buildings now? You build a core and then have the modulars earmarked, and as you grow, then those fill in. And I believe, like you said, yeah, probably that is done over there. Trustee Miller, do you have other question you said?
My other two questions can come after, I guess, the decision has been made, because it's not specific to this, but specifically working and looking at Bill 73 that's currently in the legislature, and how we work with municipalities through the MGA, or the Municipal Government Act. So those can come later. However, I think moving on this topic right now through Zoom and giving that opportunity, and possibly setting aside some time in late January or February if the opportunity presents itself to have community consultation in person as an option, depending on what we see come out of a virtual option before Christmas, might be the best opportunity to get that conversation started and see where people are at in order to direct the board in its next decisions.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Sarwa, I see your hands up. No? Okay. All right. So is the will of the board to move ahead with the virtual and in-person? Okay, I see heads nodding. Okay, so I believe because there's another meeting scheduled till around before December or by the end of the year, probably I would suggest, Mr. Bouchard, if we will have the virtual consultation either the 17th or the 18th, right? To have the field to present that, then the word is in the community. As we move through this pandemic into January, then schedule something in the in-person should everything be looking okay. And by then we've heard from the city again by the end of the year as to what they are presenting us. But they could come back to say, yeah, now we have this big plot of land that we could be looking at to provide to STAR, if that is fair.
So just for clarification, then to proceed with a virtual meeting on either the 17th or 18th.
Yes.
And then second to that, to Trustee Tugwood's suggestion, with the 2-meter distancing, you probably could only have about 30 people in a gym. So we would have to do an RSVP for that, first come, first serve, because we couldn't have 100 people converge on the school. And then say 70 of you have to go home. That wouldn't message well. So is there an advantage to have 30 people in person? Or is it better to do it all virtual? I'm interested in that. I'm not sure I'm seeing the full benefit of an in-person.
The in-person, I see the benefit in January. Sorry, Trustee Tugwood, go ahead. Your hands up.
I was going to say there are some people who don't want to be on the computer and don't want to do it on Zoom, who would attend in person. And I think it would be especially those who are really passionate about having the high school in Beaumont that might want to be there in person because they feel they can express themselves better in person. That's what I would see as the advantage. I was wondering if maybe this should be held after the Beaumont meeting, after we know what the city is planning. And that was to be the end of November, wasn't it?
Correct.
So that's why I wonder if we should be waiting on this town hall till January, as Dawn suggested.
The challenge, yeah, and that's a suggestion, right? Because it might not be good form to tell the public that the city has no land when in a week they're going to tell you they have land, if that were to happen. But just to do both, I'll just express a fear, I guess, for lack of a better word, is if you're doing it in person, now you're running a camera on the presenter, which would probably be me, and you're trying to show the presentation, which is being displayed in the gym at the same time. I don't know. We'd have to talk on our end whether we could even pull that off technologically with the resources and equipment that we have. That's my fear.
Okay, no, I don't think that's what we are requesting. Just a second. Did I see your hands up, Trustee DeMarco?
It's okay.
It's okay. How about you, Trustee Lena? I thought I seen your hand. No, okay. So, Mr. Bouchard, what we're suggesting is, if you pick a day that is purely virtual, either November 17th or 18th, right? Share screen, do all of that presentation. In anticipation that after the meeting, either November or early December by the city, as promised, and they bring back some options, then now we have more for when we schedule the in-person in January. And at that time, the in-person in January is pretty much in-person. What will happen is we'll task Trustee Serwa to speak with both school councils as they present some of the leaders within the schools to the maximum of 30 as is to fit the gym. By then, they've seen what was presented, or they've heard about what was presented in November. Then come January, knowing what the city have presented as well, whatever options, then by that January meeting, we should be able to have a very wholesome understanding. Is there a land or there is no land? And then at that time, the city is aware as to some of the steps that we've taken and how the city is responded, right? And that January will be purely in person. There will be no virtual option because the virtual option will be only one in November. That's what I'm suggesting or anticipating that issue, but not to present both virtual again in January. No, that would be too much, and logistic will be too technical. Trustee Tagwood.
I guess I had a different idea. I thought of doing both, but in January, waiting for both of them until after the meeting with the Beaumont, in case, as you said, there was some land or something had changed then, and then presenting it to everyone in January. And I think it is possible to do a Zoom and an in-person. I know I do it with the CWL, and the ASBA is doing it for their FGM. Sometimes it's difficult to show the slides and everything. That could be an issue if you're having a screen and you're projecting slides and information. That was my thought, would be to wait, but that was just my thought.
Okay, so Charlie, any comments? Any suggestions from your end?
I think if the board wishes, like, again, I think your parent consultation is very, very key. If you ever were to proceed with the implementation of high school at Mother DeVille. Our administrative window on that is likely, it would have to be made by the end of January so that administration could start to program for a high school. Because what was presented to trustees last year is this would be in place for September of next year. So you can't leave that too long. So January could work, to Trustee Tugwood's point, but you couldn't push it too far down the road, or you'd be really painting administration in a corner to program, budget, and staff it.
Okay, if that's your more preferred, then I would say we'll move in that direction then. Trustee Telaserwa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We can't hear you.
Pardon?
Can't hear you.
You can't?
Can't hear. Yeah, now you're okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, we have a new mayor and many new councilors. So perhaps we could have a discussion with them. Also, the gym, it should hold a lot more than 30 people, I would think.
That was just a ballpark, but if you think you have to space 30 people 2 meters apart. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it may hold more, but we'd have to actually try it.
That's right, yeah. And then again, in case Black Gold open up the other side, then we'll have probably about more in there. Okay, Trustee Dawn Miller.
I think I'm good. That was it. My question was clarified.
Good. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Bouchard, is that your preferred direction then?
I'm not sure what the direction is.
Oh,
Like, there's either a November consultation or a January one. I've heard different things mentioned by different trustees. So I would
Yes.
ask that you clarify that, please.
okay. In November and then in December, because there's a meeting in between. So, like my suggestion was that if we could do the virtual, purely virtual in November, and then host the next meeting either in person or virtual again, like Trustee Tagwood was explaining, in January, to gain more audience at the time.
I understood.
The blend
Sorry,
between
I
and in person. Sorry, go ahead.
understood Trustee Tugwood saying not in November, wait until January. And I think you almost need to hear from each trustee on that, please.
Okay, so wait till January. Okay, we'll start from my end here. Trustee DeMarco, what do you think? Wait till January or proceed before?
I think if there's benefit in having the information sooner than later, as Superintendent Bouchard indicated, it might be beneficial having it in November, so we have a foundation of where parents are, where they sit on the decision.
Okay,
So my preference would be November.
November. Okay, Trustee Leonard.
Yeah, I also agree with in November.
Within November. Okay. All right, Trustee Burke.
Yes, I think November would be better too. Gives the chance to meet with the new counselors as well, so that they know what's going on as well with everyone's plans.
Okay. Trustee Miller.
I would say in an effort to be proactive rather than reactive and leave things, the November consultation through virtual means would be best.
Okay. Trustee Tagwood.
I had thought January, but everyone's made really good points about November and about the new mayor and the city council. So probably it'd be good to speak to them first. Yes, November is fine with me.
Okay. Trustee Terasawa.
Yes, I too would like to see November. And as well, parents have been waiting and they're anxious. So I think it's only right that November would be the time rather than waiting till next year.
Okay. So Mr. Bouchard, November it looks like. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, Trustee Sirois, if you're maybe the person to start with. So there were 2 dates set, the 17th and the 18th. Do you have a preference on which date? And that's my first question. And then my second question is, would it just be virtual or both, knowing that we may not be able to pull off a very good session with both at the same time?
Okay, I thought that it was said that it would be 2 days, November 17th and 18th, or did I misunderstand?
That was the original plan, to have an in-person session at each school.
Okay.
But if it's virtual, do you still want 2 sessions? Or is it just 1 session?
Well, if there's all the parents from Mother DeVille and all the parents from St. Andre, that's a lot of people on Zoom, plus community members, so perhaps 2 days might be better. Do one school one day and the other school the next day.
Okay. So continue virtually, but do each school at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what does everybody else think? Is that a good idea, bad idea?
All right.
I
So,
think there's a question,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman.
sorry,
Couple
yeah.
questions.
Can I, Trustee DeMarco, please?
I was just going to add to Trustee Sirois' point that if you offer it in 2 days, if parents are busy on one day, they do have the opportunity to still be participating on an alternate date.
Yeah.
So I think it might be beneficial to still continue with 2 days and maybe don't specify per school. I don't know, maybe it might be beneficial to have it open to either date so that parents feel welcome either day.
Okay. Good suggestions there. Did I see another? Yeah, Trustee Tagwood.
I was going to say, I think that the 2 days, 1 day for each school, but they could also say, if you aren't able to attend this one, you can tune into the one the following day. Or the day
Join the
before.
following day. Okay.
So my concern is that our Zoom license might not be able to accommodate, an unlimited amount. So we may have to upgrade. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. It might be a couple $100, but I would suggest that you don't do it by school. There's no information that's specific to one school or the other. They're both implicated. So I would suggest that you let parents attend whatever's best for them.
For them. Okay. All right. Good. So are we clear now? Mr. Bouchard?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's the way we'll proceed. Thank you. Okay. Back to you again, Mr. Bouchard, for our 5.7 Archbishop's dinner meeting agenda.
Thank you. So just again, it was on the calendar approved by the board at the recent organizational meeting, but the Archbishop Parish Board dinner meeting, which it won't be a dinner, but it'll be a virtual meeting, is on November 23rd, and I've sent you an invitation to that. It is a 5:30 meeting until 7:30. Also in attendance are the school principals. So on that agenda, I'll just bring it up here. Right now, what we have is opening prayer, the Treaty 6 land acknowledgement, welcome and introductions. And again, this would be finalized with after your feedback here today. Sacramental preparation. That is something that Principal Robinson from Beaumont is asked to speak to. The Archbishop Smith provides always some closing comments, closing prayer, and then the adjournment. So at this time, it's over to you as trustees to say, what do you want the Archbishop to speak to? Is there anything you want to communicate to him as part of this meeting?
This is now open for any comments or requests that we may have for His Grace to prepare before He comes. Okay. Any comments, any suggestions? Yeah, Trustee Tagwood.
I was going to say, Liz had mentioned at the organizational meeting that she would be nice if the Archbishop could visit each school. So maybe that could be school visits or school tours or something like that could be on the agenda for the Archbishop.
I know he gave us that as a standing offer before COVID hit us, so we would just bring that again as a reminder. Any burning catechists that we may want him explain? Okay, I see nothing. Okay, so probably I will speak with Mr. Bouchard. We'll go through some of our oldest and see if we can add one or two, but that should be fair because normally it's going to be over Zoom as well. So the shorter it is, the better, because everybody's getting tired of virtual. And I know that His Grace really struggles on that. He's a people person, but he's trying to make through it like everyone else. Okay, Trustee De La Serva.
Yes, as a suggestion.
Okay.
As a suggestion to the Archbishop, if you want some ideas, is he could come with one or two ideas as to get how to get the teachers to evangelize more in the classroom.
Okay, evangelization. Okay. All right, we'll bring that up and ideas for evangelization. Okay. And something we could probably add on there just to make this short and easy. Maybe to, again, even though he's already written his letter about vaccination, right? But again, a little bit of teaching on that will be good. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Bouchard, we have that to clean up. Thank you. We'll go to 5.8, Remembrance Day. November 11th. Okay, Mr. Bouchard, over to you.
So trustees, I'm not sure what is happening at each of your communities for Remembrance Day, but the board and the division does sponsor to a maximum of $65 a wreath that is sponsored by the division. If communities are having live Remembrance Day ceremonies, the trustee would sometimes carry the wreath and lay it, or somebody else, a representative, could do that. But if you wish to do that on behalf of your community, there is the option. It's in the background right here. You can submit your receipts And there's a couple of different options there, but I just remind trustees that that is an option, and it does connect the division and the community in this important time.
Okay. And just to add on, again, that's the way we connect with our communities, but unfortunately COVID has, and I do know Legions are struggling. So if you could connect and see what, because some of them will do some small ceremony, and it's a gesture to us to connect to them, say, here is how we support the cause that has been ongoing since the wars. Yeah. So please connect with them and check with Kim, or when you do your own donation, bring the receipt back as is, and it's to a maximum of $65. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Could I just add?
Oh, sorry.
Could I just add that a lot of the communities, I know we did it the last year, it was an outside event, but it was still, they used a loudspeaker, so it was still announced as I laid the wreath that it was from Star Catholic. And I think it's really important to the community to know that we're doing that for Star Catholic on behalf of our schools. So, and as you said, the Legions are all struggling right now.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. We can all see the fall general meeting. Did all trustees receive the letter? Did all trustees receive it? Okay. It's going to be a hybrid version. So if you can please respond. I'm not sure if the newer trustees already have their emails as accessing to access the ASBA sites. I'm not sure, but this wasn't through the emails. So if you can all respond, that would be great. If you need assistance, you can talk to Kim Sisbopre so she can help with that registration for you. And as well, I know the division have, what do we call it, have reserved 3 rooms. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if, by show of hands, let's see who all want to participate.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to ask in person or virtually?
Yeah, in person or virtually. Okay, let's go. All right, we'll start with Miss Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I have a question of what kind of has happened in the past as far as the trustees participating together as a board. So is that something that we do? And my understanding is we vote as a board rather than individuals, or what is some of the background on that? Because if we all make the decision to attend either virtually or in person, it might alter that process, I guess. So I'm just looking for some background on that information as a board in attendance.
So something we've all come to learn is that COVID shook all our foundations, and this is one of them. We used to go all in person, and especially we sit and look at all the resolutions that are coming up and have all those discussions wholesomely, and then go in person and know how we are voting in all of these. But with the way everything has happened as is right now, we are scattered and disjointed. So I will entertain any suggestions that could bring us together, if that is the will of the board, being mindful as well of the COVID restrictions, and especially if we are gathering in our boardroom, right? All of that will impact how many can be there and how many will be offsite to support that. So let's have that discussion, see who all want to be in person or virtually, and then we can see how to plan that, if that makes sense.
Okay, so if I can since you called on me first, Chair. Can I go ahead with my opinion on that? Thank you. So I think it's important that the board be together in whatever that looks like. So whether we're together in the room in attendance virtually, or whether we're attending in person on site at the conference, I would rather that we try and build the team and the connections to work together in that manner for this first conference for a lot of the new trustees. That would be my preference.
Okay. Okay. Trustee DeMarco.
I agree with Don. I mean, for myself, I'm very close to Edmonton, so it's very easy to attend virtually, but I'm also in Leduc, so can attend central office. So honestly, I think that I'd like to defer this to those that have to travel further as to whether they would prefer virtual or in person.
Okay. Trustee Lena.
I'm not, so this is from November 14th to the 16th, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure about the 16th. I'll most likely be able to attend the 14th, 15th. And I would agree with what Trustee Miller had said. It would be nice to just do things together and build the team in that manner. Virtually at the board office or together at the meeting itself.
Okay. All right. Trustee Berg.
Yeah, I'm in favor of whatever works as a whole. It would be nice to have a learning experience with all of us together going forward as a team. And I can do virtual in the board room or in person at the meeting. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Trustee Tagwood.
I have done both because last year it was just virtual, and a few of us, not everybody can always attend these. Some people have work obligations or other obligations. So we were in the boardroom, and it did go quite long. I think it was like 7:30 or something when we finished. That was a very long session. And it is, if it's virtual and there's a bunch of people in person too there, it's going to change it. It is going to make it different. I think we could do both. We would have to be texting with those who can't make it in person. Perhaps they could gather together if they aren't comfortable with doing the in-person. So actually, I would like to do the in-person. That would be my preference right now.
In person.
And
Okay.
they are going to make sure that we're seated socially distant, and so there will be precautions there. And also you have to have your vaccination.
Okay. Okay, Trustee Sarah.
Yes, I too prefer in person. As well, it will give an opportunity for the whole board to be together and get to know each other a bit better.
Okay. All right. Okay. So if we do look at the schedule, the business portion is on the Monday. It's on the Monday, right? That is the most key for, and then the Sunday as well for the awards and the rest there. Okay, I see the will of the board is to be together. It's to be together. Mr. Bouchard and Mr. Latka, I know you are also part of this. What would be your preferences?
I'm okay with whatever's decided. I don't have a preference.
I don't have a preference either.
I would say though, trustee Eflin, just to your point,
Mhm.
the board being together, it really, if that, the intention is to like be able to discuss, vote, et cetera, it really, that is the Monday's work.
Yeah.
Sunday night and Tuesday could be from your own location or in person, whatever is decided, but the voting is on the Monday.
Monday. Okay. All right. So if we want to be together, I know in previous years, yeah, I've driven especially the Sunday evening or Monday. If I wasn't staying, I'd come in Monday early morning to join the in-person sessions for the business session. As we speak, again, because of all of the awards and the ceremony, and I'm part of receiving some award there. So I was planning to go on the Sunday and then Monday finish the business portion and then do the training portions, the sessions on the Tuesday from home. So that's an idea. So since we've all decided to, then we have to make that decision. Who wants to come on the Sunday? Because we have 3 rooms, and if we need to add additional rooms, so we can have Mrs. Beaupre look at all of that for us to be able to come on the Sunday or the Monday morning, come in bright early to join the team. Who would like, okay, give me your preferences. Who wants to be there on the Sunday? Okay, all right. So I see pretty much everybody except Trustee Leonard. Okay, so that means 6 rooms. Okay, so Trustee Leonard, you come in Monday morning? Okay, all right, perfect. So it is, and then who all is staying? How long we stay until? Who is staying till Tuesday? Okay. All right. So everybody comes Sunday and then leave Monday after the business session and then participate the rest on the Tuesday from home. Okay. All right. So Mrs. Beaupre, did you capture all?
Sure.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, just by way of clarification, so we will book 6 rooms. We'll look after that. Trustees, though, I believe are responsible for registering themselves. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just so all trustees know, that's kind of how that works. So we'll look after the rooms, 6 rooms for Sunday night.
All right.
And no
And like I
rooms
said,
for Monday night.
For Monday night, yeah. If you couldn't book, register, please give Kim a quick call, because there's an option she could go in there and then book you, I think. But every trustee that got an email should be able to register themselves. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. ACSTA. Did everybody get that ACSTA invite? Okay. All right. And that is virtual. That will be a virtual meeting. Okay. And everybody got a link? If no, let me know so we can resend the link. And I believe it's going to be resent out again, as my understanding, because we have some newer members on the board. Okay.
It is in the agenda, Mr. Chairman, as well. So
Yes. Any questions? Okay, and that will as well be an all-day Saturday, bright and early. Grab a cup of coffee, and then set to go behind the screens. All right. Any questions there before we move on? No. All right.
Sorry, Henry, I would just one question about ACSTA. Won't there be some voting for the president and so on for that? at that meeting?
Yes, including the budget. So all that is in the package that Kim sent out yesterday.
So will that vote just be for one person from our board, or will we be all having a vote? I thought it was just one.
We will, so this will be my suggestion on that day. We will text together, right? It's again, timing of everything. COVID is teaching us a whole different lesson. We will text together. I know it's like a transitioning phase within the next 2 weeks here. Trustee Miller is coming on, right? And there's a lot happening at that table. So we will have some discussion. I'm not sure if this warrants a meeting for us before we do that. I'm not sure, but let me ask the will of the board here. Okay, Trustee Miller, I see your hands up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My hand was up. I had the exact same operational questions as Trustee Tugwood for clarification in that manner. I think it might be useful just to have a quick casual conversation, as there's only 3 resolutions coming forward for that meeting, along with, as Trustee Tugwood mentioned, the elections. Just to have a brief discussion about what those resolutions are, some thoughts about it, because I know texting during the meeting can sometimes be tough, especially when amendments come forward and other things happen on the floor. So if we have a good understanding of the direction that we do want to go, the elections, I think, will just have to be done as they come up during the meeting, because although some people will put their names forward prior to the AGM and make that information public, there is the opportunity for nominations to come from the floor at the time. So we will have to be, create a group chat kind of thing to keep each other informed and make that decision forward.
Thank you. Any other comments before we?
Do you know, Henry, do you know if we have 1 vote per board or 1 vote per person for those?
For the election, we have 1 vote per person.
Okay.
And then for the budget, we have a weighted vote. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So how would we like to proceed on this? How would we like to do it? Okay. Do you want to set up a casual Zoom meeting to go through the resolution one evening and the ACSTA work? Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bouchard, probably this word, I will ask if you don't mind. Let's add that to your list there. We will do a couple of dates.
Is it possible that trustees could pick a date now? That would sure make it a lot easier and quicker.
A lot easier. Okay. Trustees, if you can please look at your timers there. About November 2nd.
Okay.
How is that looking like?
Okay.
How is November 2nd looking like? Thumbs up if that is looking good. Do we go 4:30?
I see Liz has put her hand up. So is
Sorry,
Jolene.
trustee.
Could we not just go over this when we're at this is for the 16th, right?
No, this is the 13th. ACST the 13th, which is virtual.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we won't be together before then. I was thinking maybe we could just spend a little time together instead of making it a whole separate meeting.
No, we won't be there.
We won't be together then, okay.
Are you available the 2nd?
Yeah, second is fine.
Okay.
Would
You
4
want to
o'clock,
go? Sorry,
would 4 work?
before work?
Would 4 o'clock work?
4 o'clock. Oh, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock work for all, 4 to 6?
Not for Jolene's hand is up.
Oh, sorry, Jolene.
Okay, I was just gonna put a request if we could possibly have an evening meeting, just because of taking the additional, if possible, if earlier works for everybody else, I can make it work.
Would 4:30 work for you then? Happy medium. Or 4 o'clock?
No,
4:30 would be better for myself,
4:30 would be better.
if that's possible.
Okay. So
And
let's do the sorry.
I was just wondering if I could just go check my agenda. I'll just come it right back down and see.
Okay.
that.
Okay, we'll give you a minute there quick. Okay, please.
sometimes we do a 5 o'clock and that 5 or 5:30 is all right with me too.
Yeah.
If it'd make it
That
easier
would work
for those.
better. That would work a lot better for myself, if
Much
we could
better.
possibly ask that.
Especially for people that are working, it's difficult to get home in time and be set up. So yeah, I'm fine with making it a bit later.
As soon as Miss Trustee Beck comes up,
There she is.
Yeah, 4:30 works for me as well.
4:30 works. Okay. So it's just 3 resolutions and wouldn't take us that long to look at the implications, right? As suggested, we'll go November 2nd, 5 to 6:30, and by 7 we should wrap up.
Okay.
If that is fair, please. Okay. So we'll set up the meeting. Mr. Bouchard, please. All right.
Oops.
Thank you. School councils. Mr. Laka, take it away.
So annually, the division collects reports from the various school councils. They are presented to the board for information. I don't have any comments with regards to the information that's presented or commentary about the reports themselves, other than to note that, yes, we are still waiting for 4 school councils at this point. So I'll be in touch with the administrators there to pass on a message to see if we can get those last 4 school council reports in and bring them forward to the November meeting. The other thing, just to advise the board and trustees, is the additional grant that the minister announced back in August. We finally were advised of what the terms and conditions of that grant was. And so it was the Alberta School Council Engagement Grant. And that provided $500 to every school council for basically professional development or reaching out activities. And so those funds, we've forwarded on the limitations of the funds and how to apply them both onto the school administrators and onto the school council chairs last week in terms of how to access those funds. Those funds are held by the division. And then the process of either using a vendor of the division working through the school, perhaps doing a purchase in conjunction with the school, or being reimbursed. So we've tried to outline, whatever process will make it easiest for them to fulfill any requirements to utilize those $500. The key aspect of this is any money that's not spent by the school council will be returned back to the province. So that communication went out last week to school councils and the week before to the administrators.
Okay.
So that's in brief all I have to report on that.
Okay, thank you. Quick question, Mr. Laka, since you know the scope of the grant, are jurisdictions able to pay ASCA fees out of that grant?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
They are essentially at the discretion of the school council on how those funds are utilized.
Okay.
And but the school council has to operate within limitations, i.e. they can't pay it to a fundraising arm and those type of transfers. They actually are intended to use specifically for enhancement in parent education.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Any other question? Okay. I see Trustee Miller.
Thank you. This is a very exciting topic for me. Mr. Letka, has there been any questions? Or I guess, is there going to be a requirement for the school council once they've made a decision on, submitting their request to make sure that it fits the grant outline? And is there any, or has there been any opportunities? I know it's very broad and left up to the school council, but is there any opportunity or direction that was given as to some ideas that might fit along with school's 3-year plan and the division's plan to enhance that engagement process?
There was no guidance given in terms of a divisional perspective in terms of guiding process on how those funds are utilized. There was discussion on whether kind of a budget was to be submitted in terms of ensuring that those expenditures were used. Our view was that just added another hurdle in terms of actually getting funds out and achieving. So what we've taken the approach is making sure that people are aware of what the requirements are as best we can. We will kind of evaluate them as the expenditures are made and are vetted through. I'll probably review them eventually, but at this point, we're trying to provide people with the information to do the right thing. And the limitations in some respects, when they say you cannot use it to buy meals or donuts or snacks, it's quite explicit. So I think they've taken the approach that where it's explicit is probably the most common areas where people may stray away from. Where it's more broad and more open to interpretation is really where they hope those funds will be utilized and directed.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Trustee Tagwood.
I was going to say at my school council meeting, they were informed about this $500 and everyone was quite excited about it and waiting to hear the parameters around it and lots of ideas for engaging more parents. This has always been an issue at our small school. When everybody's happy, you don't get very many people at school council meetings. So they want to bring more people in, more parents in to have an active part in the school council meetings. They were all quite thrilled. And I was going to say our report will be in because we were quite excited to have a new chairperson at our school council who used to be a trustee before I came. So Talia was quite busy with the election, but she said she would get that report in as soon as she can. So you should be hearing from her.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Thank you, Trustee Miller.
Thank you. Last question on this topic. How, as trustees, can we support this project? And will we be receiving, I guess, key messages to add to our trustee reports for the school council meetings?
With regards to that, it hasn't been discussed in terms of key messages for trustees at this point. Perhaps Superintendent Bouchard has some comments with regards to that.
Do you have any comment to add on, Charlie?
I guess we distributed this information through the principals to go to school councils. If trustees wish to communicate something else, if you wanted to tell us, what you want your messaging to be, we could create something. It's up to you guys.
My suggestion would be just sharing the scope. Just a bit of the scope of the grant should be sufficient, plenty, and exactly because most of us are a bit active at some of school councils, just able to guide them that these are the scope and not to go outside of it. That should, because it's entirely school councils, and I don't want us going there and and directing and no. But if we understand the scope, that should be plenty. That's all, and that's what I didn't get. Okay, if that is okay with my team. Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Let's not be at school council telling them what to do. We listen and we give a little word of advice, and that's it. Or a word of encouragement, not even advice.
We have a question from Trustee Taylor Serwa.
Trustee Serwa.
Yes, what I was going to say was, I think that is the business of the school council and not really our sandbox.
Yes. Yeah. So they should be manage it appropriately. Okay. Thank you. Okay. 5.11. Oh, Mr. Latka, are you all done? I
am all done.
Okay. So, Mr. Bouchard, yeah, just the scope of that grant will be plenty in an email or whatever there. 5.11, good news stories. Oh, okay, Trustee Miller.
I was just wanted to, I guess, make a comment about the school council reports. Are these reports just for information purposes only, or does the board have a process to look through it and kind of gather information about different activities? Or is this just on here to check the box for reporting according to the Education Act?
Good question. It serves two purposes. We all look at it, see how active our councils are, and what we can fit in and support them and encourage them. And pretty much that's what we've always done with, like you do said, yeah, under the Act, school councils are independent on their own, and we have to respect that, and we just support it. So it's for our information and how we are engaging with our school councils. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. So 5.11, we do call something good news stories, and pretty much when we do hear good news stories about our school communities, here is our time to rant and rave about our schools and what has happened and some of the good news stories. So if there are any, I see, yeah, Trustee Tagwood, hands up.
Yes, I have lots to brag about at Father Lacombe because our new school is just going up, up, up. It's wonderful. And lots of people in the community. I was out in the community. I met a woman from FCSS, and she's saying, oh, that's so awesome. That must be an elevator that's in there. We thought it was a tower first with a bell, but we realized that it's an elevator. So it's looking really good. And you can really see it coming together now. So I'm really proud of that. And it's just great. There's a couple of things happening within the school too. I was at the Masquesis Mass for St. Kateri, and they gave us a picture and a candle and a few things from to be given to the school. So I had taken them into the school, and they are proudly displayed in our school, that picture of St. Kateri and the candle, as well as the students have all done a small piece of native artwork, and that's there. So it is well represented in our school. And also, good news is that the blanket exercise has been booked for grades 7 to 9 in the school. And I did the blanket exercise at, I believe it was one of the conferences, either ASBA or ACSTA, I don't remember which one, but it was so good. So if you ever get a chance to do that, you really need to do it. It was excellent. And I'm so happy that our grade 7 to 9 students will be getting a chance to do that. So that's my bragging for now.
Thank you. It's a good brag. Yeah. So Saint Catanary, yeah, she's an Aboriginal saint. Once a year, she's revered at Our Lady of Seven Sorrows here in the Musquatchie Reserve. So it's an opportunity going forward. We'll look at it. And then within STAR itself, Mr. Bouchard, correct me, we do have a blanket exercise team that did some of the work until COVID hit. So there will be an opportunity once COVID is giving us our lives back. Probably we'll think about that and work around it and bring that on so everyone here can experience it as well. Okay. Any other rave? No? Okay. So board calendar. All right. So this again is to remind us of things that are coming up on the board calendar there. So
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Sorry,
if I could just interject something here too. So trustees, on November 29th, that meeting will start early in that day. So we haven't set that agenda yet to finalize the start time. But as part of the annual education results report, the trustees hear from each of the directors. So each of our directors will come in and do about a 20-minute to 30-minute overview of all the board priority work that's happened and the results related to that. That always happens prior to the November board meeting. So it likely will be an 8:30 or a 9 o'clock start on the 29th of November. Just thought I'd give you a heads up on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I have one question, Henry.
Go ahead.
I know we usually do tours of the schools for the new trustees. Is that going to be in the new year, or are we going to be doing it because of COVID? Is there a change to that, Charlie?
We talked about that on our end. With COVID, we can't do that. Like, it's a problem right now. We'll have to wait until restrictions allow it.
Okay. So that, like you said, yeah, restrictions will allow it sooner than later. I'm talking to COVID to give us back our lives. Okay, we will go on.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, annual work plan, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
May I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. On the board calendar, we have January 27th set as a COSC meeting. I'm kind of hesitant to keep that date pending restrictions and what might come late January, early February. Is that date able to change or be flexible if it looks like restrictions are going to be lifted in any way as far as social distancing, where we could actually meet in person?
That I believe we're planning a virtual, so I'll defer back to Mr. Bouchard.
Thank you, Trustee Miller. So of course, the board could defer the meeting. We just ask that you provide as much notice as possible. There's a lot of individuals involved, obviously, school council, executive, and administration, school principals and senior administration. So yeah, for sure, it can be deferred. But right now it was set by the previous board. So I'll leave it in your guys' hands on how you want to proceed.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, as we move forward, let's see what November is bringing us on the updates. Like Trustee Sarwadi say, we all paying attention to some of these numbers that are changing. So, all right. So we will go back to our annual work plan. So pretty much, if you've taken a look at it, it's what happens every month. So that's like our guide into our annual monthly plans. If you see anything there, again, we looked at it to make sure if something is conflicting, we bring it to the attention of the superintendent so we can work around some of those dates as we are moving along. But they are set in months, so it's easy to understand. There we have the trustee expense list. I did see Mr. Laka shared with us, right, on the drive. Easy to put everything there and then email to him, easier. So with newer trustees, like we did say, don't waste a year or two, right? Yeah, every month is much easier for accounting processes. So like from the organizational meeting, the mileage and all of that, paying attention to the appendices that we have, what is per diem and what is honorarium. Okay, thank you.
So Henry, could I just say something about the, I'm
Oh.
sorry, Mr. Chair,
Right.
about the expense claim? It is on, you sent it, Ed, but I think we would download it each individually so that we all aren't putting it on the same one or we see everybody else's.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful to download it first. Is that not correct?
That is correct. It's a template document, so it's either copy it if you're used to working in the Google Drive, or if you wish to download it to your local computer and then submit it from that. But that template is there for all trustees to utilize. If you enter it in, everybody can see what the entries are, and they may delete it, and then you're going back in. It's a single file that's shared by all, so it's best if you do download it.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for that reminder. Okay. Mr. Bouchard, board action sheet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For new trustees, the action sheet is a review of the directed action by the Board of Trustees to administration as a result of the meeting. So I'll review these. If I've missed anything, I apologize. Please let me know. Okay, so going through the action sheet. So trustee profiles, the manager of communications will communicate with trustees to update profiles. The Beaumont Community Consultation will proceed with a November 17 and 18 consultation. It will be virtual. Parents can attend either session. The Archbishop meeting agenda, we'll have to finalize that agenda with the chair and vice chair. ASBA, we will book 6 rooms for Sunday night. ACSTA resolution discussion, we'll set up a Zoom meeting to discuss those resolutions on November 2nd from 5 until 6:30. The school council grant, we will share with trustees the criteria of the grant. Those are the actions that I had.
Yes.
And these action sheets are always followed up on. There's a status column and they'll be in your next package for trustees to see the progress.
All right. Any other? Is he missing anything on there? That's what I have as well. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. So trustees, this is what I'm thinking. When we say our closing prayer, if we can stay on, just to talk about the mentorship on the other side and assign that, and then we can end the meeting. That is okay? All right, perfect. So we have our closing prayer attached. Okay, if you can all add, yes, exactly. Thank you, Ed. All right. If you all may join me in the name of the Father, the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Grant me, O Lord, my
Lord
God,
my God,
a mind to know
Mind to
you,
know you,
a heart to
Heart
seek
to
you,
seek you, wisdom to find,
find you, conduct
conduct
pleasing
pleasing to you, faithful
faithful
person
servant,
waiting for you,
and waiting for you.
hope of
and
finally
hope of finally
embracing
embracing you. Amen.
you. Amen. Thank you, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So I would say we are adjourned at 1:50 p.m. Thank you all. And admin, you don't have to stay on. Just Mr. Bushado probably. And then we'll do that work. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have good afternoon and good rest of your week and the day. All right. Thank you.